Okay, so this is what I've been up to quite a lot just lately. This particular job is remodelling these windows. They're actually virtually new. They're Crittle, but they have been altered originally already. Someone's changed the handles and the back plates, and the client doesn't like them, so they want them changing yet again to something else. So this is just a quick look at how I go about each one. First job is to take the identification tag off, because whoever put them on the only bit that's actually coming off the window. So I'm just going to put them back onto the stay, because each window, there's hundreds of windows in this building, and each one is numbered, so it goes back in exactly the same spot that it came out of. I'm going to take the old back plate off. It's just been put on with 3 screws. I can tell it's been done fairly recently because they're all metric, which obviously the old ones weren't, but these are. So get rid of the screws. Now I've got to take the old back plate off, but I'm reusing the handle, so I've just got to drill this rivet out. Some of these rivets are copper and some are brass. I'm not quite sure why, what the difference is, whether they just didn't have enough of one. I'm putting grips on this because for the first couple I did of these, sometimes this brass grips really suddenly, and it gripped and it tore a lump out of my hand, so I didn't fall for that the second time. And then we've got to get rid of the rivet and the washer. Try and knock the rivet out. It's got that. Now the new rivets I'm putting in are 8mm, and the old ones I've just taken out 6mm, so I've just got to drill the hole out to take an 8mm rivet. Now ideally I would have wanted an 8.1mm drill, but I haven't got one. The biggest or smallest I've got is 8.3, and it's a little bit too big, so I'm putting an 8mm through, and then later on you'll see I'll have to just rub it through with a file just to give it a little bit of clearance. But here I'm just taking there's like a ridge. These handles are cast, and there's a ridge in the middle where the cast line is. So I'm just taking that off so that the new rivet will hopefully sit flatter. Because if you leave the ridge there and the rivet tightens up on it, when it wears a little bit, it will come very loose very quickly. Just touching that up with the wire brush because I've got to braze the hole up, because it will now be in the wrong place. They put the hole in there and put a 5mm grub screw in as a security measure to comply with the insurance. They had to be able to lock the windows, so they just drilled a hole, tapped it, there you can see it, tapped it 5mm and put a little grub screw in that did up to the window. But obviously, as I say, it's in the wrong place now, so I've got to move it. I'm just going to braze the old one up. Let's check, see if that's gone right through. Looks like it has. That'll do for me. Put that out the way. Yeah, that's gone through all right. Put it out the way to cool. Put that out the way. Okay, so whilst that's cooling, I've had these laser cut to match the originals on the window. I've just had to fold them up and put a little peg in, but they're obviously shorter than the originals, or shorter in what do you call it, depth sort of thing, not length. That one's got to go in the hole and the other one goes around it. I don't know why they didn't have these on there. I just got myself a 5mm drill. I bought some stub drills, and this one's a 5mm and it's carbide, and I wish I'd bought them years ago. Lovely drill, sharp as, and being a stub drill, it's nice, real nice to use. Perfect for jobs like this. And I'm just putting a block under the frame, so there's a gap under there so that I don't drill into the inner frame. Just take the paint off. These are galvanised actually, these windows, and then they've been painted grey. The client hasn't actually made up his mind whether he wants them grey again or black. So once they get reglazed or powder coated and then reglazed, we're not sure whether they're going to be black or grey. And some of these windows feel, well, in fact 90% of them feel like they've never been opened. They're as stiff as anything, so I'm just putting a little dab of WD on the hinges just to get them freed up. You know, all you need is a couple of movements backwards and forwards and that sorts it out a treat. Right, so we're going to rivet this on. I bought these special rivets. Well, I say special, they're different. They're flathead. These are 5mm by 10mm aluminium. They've got a 2mm thick head, and they're perfect for this. When I designed the this little bracket in CAD, I made sure that the where the rivets went was the right size for the rivet head, so there's nothing protruding. It sits exactly flush all the way around, so the radiuses are the same. I've got a little block under there. I have to do this left-handed because I need to hold it with me right. And then have quick reactions. That came down a bit of a sudden, but it missed me. Now those were just long enough and they come up real nice. They sit flush almost without a countersink. Now these are the new back plates I had laser cut, and I've just had to put a little bend in the end because they need to be slightly offset, because the other original ones were screwed to the frame, and these are going to be welded to the side of the frame, so they need to come out a little bit. So I've just put a little set in them. I'm just putting a chamfer on there so that when I weld them, there's something to bite into. I'm not going to grind it all off. Now that's still hot, so we're just going to quickly cool that out. Just take the excess brass off where I brazed it. Just take it back flat. Get myself a rivet. And a washer. And this is where you see I'm going to just open this out just a gnats. I'm just going to quickly rub the file, hardly at all around there. just to give it a little bit of clearance, so that if the hole is slightly off, you know, not dead straight, dead upright, that the it won't bind when it's riveted over. I'm just going to do the same with the back plate. Again, that would hammer in there, but it's a little bit too tight, so I'm just going to take a little gnats out of there. Perfect. Lovely job. So we can now put it all together. So we've got rivet, washer, back plate. Just got to cut the rivet down, obviously. I bought rivets longer than I needed for two reasons. One, I couldn't get the size I wanted, but also if you've got longer you can always cut them down, but if you've got two shorter ones you can't make them any longer. So a few rubs and that'll be off. Right, now to preserve the head of the rivet, I've made up this little piece. It's out of a bit of half round handrail with a flat ground on the top, and the rivet head impressed into the top. I'm just going to put it together like that. I wish it would focus, you blaming thing. There we go. And then I'm just going to slip it over my stake, anvil stake, and then give it some beans. I have countersunk, I don't know if I showed you, I don't think I did. I have actually countersunk the back of that back plate so that the rivet can rivet into it and remain flush, or flush-ish. It's got it nicely, but it's a little bit too tight, which is fine. I'll just put it in the vise and give it a couple of taps. That's better. Still I've got a tight spot. So put it on the tight spot. Give it another tap. Perfect. In fact, it might be a little bit too... yeah, it might be a little bit too sloppy, but we can always tighten it up again. Yeah, so the rivet wants to remain flush at the back because it's going to be close to the glass. So we don't want anything sticking out the back to interfere with the glass. This is the old bracket. Just whipping that off. We don't need that anymore. Taking off the galvanised about half an inch above and below where the original one was, flattening it off and then putting a bevel on again, so that when I put that bracket on we've got somewhere to put some weld. Turn it over and do the same the other side. Now I'm just going to knock out, that's something else that shows how relatively modern these crittals are. They've got an actual draft strip in them, a rubber strip all the way around. It's the first time I've ever seen a crittle window with a draft excluder strip round it. So I'm just going to whip that out so we don't burn it. They'll probably have to come out anyway when they're powder coated, but I'm just putting them back how they were. Alright, so I'm just going to try and line this bracket up. It's quite tricky because, like I said, it's got to be level because it can't protrude inwards, otherwise it'll interfere with the glass. So it's got to be at least level, if not sticking outwards. Ideally I want it level. I don't really want it sticking out, but sticking out is better than sticking in, and that's in the wrong place. So I just broke that tack off. Just grind that off, start again. Each one of these is different. I was going to try and make a jig, but each handle seems to have been cast slightly differently or finished off where they've ground them, or whatever they've done to finish them. They're all slightly different, so I tried making a jig to start with, and it just didn't work. So it's a case of sort of do it by eye, and then fiddle about with it to get it to fit. That seems about right, so we're just going to fill up the holes where the original screws were and run a bead down it. I'm putting quite a lot of weld on because I want plenty to be able to grind back, so that I can finish it nicely without it looking as if it's been welded in. Just take some of that nasty oxide off from the galvanising. Have a weld on that side. Again, I'm going to put quite a lot of weld on it so that we can grind it back and put a bit of a radius in there. Just get a bit of PPE on for this. It's amazing how much grinding dust comes off of these. It really is. And this is the most grinding on each one I do, I think, in one go. And it's noisy. Whip it over, do the other side. We're on the homeward stretch, I think. Quick go over with a wire brush. That blends it in even nicer. Just leaves a nice finish, a good wire brush. So now what I want to do is, where I've welded, where it's come over the edges of the bracket, just in those corners there, just want to square them off, just make them square again. It looks a bit more factory rather than as it's just been added on afterwards. All it takes, a couple of rubs. Right, we're nearly there. We've just got to take the end off this latch because, excuse me, with the new bracket it sticks out too much, because I don't know if you can see where that mark is along that line there. That's where it actually, the frame goes into the wall, so the latch can't be any longer than that, so I'm just rounding it off with a grinder. Just tidying it up, making it look as if it was always that shape. Now I've just got to mark where this hole is in the keep. Obviously when they did it originally they just drilled straight through the two, so they didn't have to line it up, but because I've got to sort of reverse engineer it, as it were. I don't know whether these will ever get used, but we're going to put them in so that the facility is there. They may have the same problem with the insurance otherwise, so I'm putting the holes in, I'm tapping them. Obviously they're going to need to be re-tapped once they're powder coated, but that's down to, I guess, the fitters. So that was another Cobalt stub drill, 4.2 for my 5mm tap. I'm just going to rub the cutting disc underneath just to take any burrs off, just to help it shut properly. Clean everything off. You see how much dust, that's just from one window. I do this after every one and it's just amazing how much dust there is. And that brass dust isn't very nice stuff either from the grinding. Right, last job to do. Put the draft strip back. And so they may well have to come off a powder coating because they've got the strips all the way around, but I'm just putting it all back how it came. Then that's down to whoever. I haven't been asked to take them out, put it that way. There we go, done. Another one finished. So that's a brief look at one of my boring jobs at the moment. So thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.